Good morning and welcome to the third in our series of Facebook Live sessions where we're sort of running down through the Fab Lab technology, sort of one at a time. So we started with the laser cutter 2 weeks ago. It was a 3D printer last week, and this week we're going to be talking about the vinyl cutter and all the things that you can do with vinyl cutting. So if you missed any of the previous sessions, they're all up on our Facebook page. That's FabLab MH. So tune in and have a look at those. So I guess also, yeah, first day of December as well. Happy Advent to everybody. I hope you opened your calendars this morning and got some nice chocolate or something behind it. So talking about vinyl cutting, I grew up with vinyl cutting and sign making. My father ran a sign making business for most of his adult life, and he used vinyl cutters from way back in the day, from the 70s through to the 80s and onwards. So I kind of grew up around the idea of lettering and fonts and cutting out you know signs to go up on doors, buildings, wherever. So he I was talking to him last night and I was asking him about like the early days of vinyl cutting, because he remembers it really well. And I'm just going to share my desktop here and show you something that might frighten you. Certainly frightened me when I saw it. This is the one of the first ever vinyl cutting machines. Um, it was by a company called Gerber, who pretty much invented vinyl cutting. And this machine was able to cut out lettering in vinyl. You can see it there. It has a kind of tractor feed. It's almost like one of the old kind of dot matrix printers. It would get fed through, and then the cutting head here would kind of cut out the lettering. Again, in the old-fashioned keyboard built in, this was like a whole unit built in, so there was no separate computer. It was just one sort of dedicated unit, and if you were lucky, you had 2 or 3 fonts. It came with Helvetica and Times Roman as the only fonts built into it. So that was literally all you could do was cut out lettering. Um, and if you wanted extra fonts, you had to buy them as a plug-in module. The top unscrewed there, and you literally slotted in a card that would give you extra fonts. But you didn't actually buy them. You ended up renting them from this company. So it was very clunky, but it was a real workhorse machine apparently back in the day, and you're able to very quickly um, line up all of your lettering that you wanted to print out for your signs, kind of pretty much just let it roll, and the roll of vinyl will kind of chug through on the tractor feed, and you're able to cut out your lettering. So vinyl cutting pretty much comes from a sign making background. That was really where it originated. Um, of course, it's sort of gone on from there to be a lot more creative than that. The other thing this machine could do was if you put paper, a roll of paper in there, in the ordinary kind of dot matrix paper, it could kind of punch holes where the letters would be and create a kind of a dot to dot pattern, which if you were then going to say sign right onto maybe a piece of wood, you could take the the piece of paper down and essentially kind of color in the dots and then take the paper away and then draw in the lettering or sort of paint in the lettering yourself. So it was a way of kind of getting very kind of accurate looking fonts by kind of punching holes. Um, this machine was obviously superseded as computing technology sort of like came in, and you got desktop, PCs, the first kind of like Windows machines. Um, these were replaced by something called the Roland. So Roland, or a Japanese company, who made everything from desktop sign makers to guitar amps to synthesizers. They were one of those sort of electronics companies that just had their fingers in every pies. Um, and Roland are still making these machines to this day. This was their first sort of desktop sign maker, and this hooked up to an ordinary computer, an ordinary sort of Windows PC, probably Windows 3.1 back in the day, and you're able to control that. The great thing about this one is the software allowed you to draw shapes as well as lettering, and you weren't restricted to just the fonts that were built into the Gerber machines. You could use any fonts that you kind of had on the computer. Roland are still in business and still making vinyl cutters. Their latest version of the Cam One, they kept with the Cam name, is this machine, the GS24. Very kind of sophisticated machine, and you see this a lot in kind of professional sign making places. So, just kind of rolling back to what sign making kind of started at, or the idea. The idea is centuries old. The What we call decals, or sort of stickers that you would stick onto, say, windows or walls or signs. The word decal is actually a French word. It comes from decalcomania, and it was actually started by a Frenchman back in the 1700s, and he was using decal. Is actually the French word for tracing or tracing paper, and he worked out that if you had very thin paper and you etched a design on it, you could then imprint that design onto porcelain, and that's where the kind of word decal came from. Obviously, as the early sort of sign making machines, the sort of Gerber machines look more like desktop printers, but as CNC technology increased in sort of power, the ability to sort of move the print head backwards and forwards and move the vinyl sheets in and out became a lot more controllable and sophisticated. The vinyl cutter itself, essentially, the way I explain it to people is it's essentially a computer controlled craft knife. I'll just go back to full screen desktop here on a second. Where are we? Where's my mouse? There it is. I'll just show you this. These are the actual little knives that go into the vinyl cutter. They're really tiny little kind of craft knives, and they swivel around sort of 360 degrees, so they're able to kind of be dragged around. And it's often you hear the term a drag knife, and that's essentially what the vinyl cutter is. It kind of drags the knife over the vinyl sheet and cuts out the shapes and the lettering for you. So CNC technology sort of led to the vinyl cutters that we have today. Talking about CNC, we then need to sort of determine how we actually control them. Usually the vinyl cutters come with their own kind of proprietary software. Like if you bought a Roland machine, it would come with its own suite of software that you use to control the vinyl cutter. All vinyl cutters need what's called vector graphics, though, and vector graphics are essentially graphics that define lettering and shapes via maths, via a series of paths that the that the blade can follow, as opposed to something like what we call raster graphics, something like, your phone would take a photograph. Those are what's called raster graphics or bitmap graphics, and they're made up of little individual pixels. So there's no path there for a machine like a vinyl cutter or a laser cutter to follow. So quite often when you're bringing in, say, logos or graphics, you need some way of converting the raster graphics into vector graphics. And I'll talk about software a little bit later on. What I want to talk about is the actual vinyl itself. So, back in the days of those old Gerber machines, you actually had to buy the vinyl from the company that sold you the machine. It was a completely closed ecosystem. And you had a very limited choice of colors. They were, maybe 6 or 7 different colors: the black, white, red, green, blue, yellow if you were lucky. But then, as the sort of CNC vinyl cutters sort of became more predominant, a company called 3M, who you may have heard of, a little company, started producing vinyl on rolls, like you see behind me here, the rolls of vinyl behind me. And it started becoming a lot more sophisticated in terms of the sort of, the thicknesses and the finishes and the colors that you could get. So now you can get vinyl in, lots of different colors. I'll just show you where we get our vinyl from. We get our vinyl from a company in the north of Ireland called MDP Supplies. And they supply all different types of vinyl for all different types of purposes. You can see here you've got like gloss vinyl, matte vinyl, metallic films, speciality, sandblasting vinyl, clothing vinyl. There's such a different, wide range of vinyl available for lots of different kind of tasks and applications. So vinyl itself, there's a couple of ways vinyl can be made. Vinyl can be made in what's called cast vinyl and what's called calendered vinyl. That's calendered with an ER, not AR. So cast vinyl is the most expensive type of vinyl. It's also the most sort of hard wearing. It's designed for outdoor use. The vinyl is made by essentially pouring the sort of, the PVC, resin that makes up the film into a big vat, and it sort of smooths out into a big sheet, and then they can extract the sheets of vinyl from that. So it's very flat because of the way it's produced. But what that means is it can be kind of malleable and sort of stretched a bit into shape. So you'd find cast vinyl used where you need to kind of wrap the vinyl around things. Also, you'd use cast vinyl if you want to do any kind of outdoor work, because cast vinyl can last outdoors for anything kind of up to 7-8 years. So it's very kind of hard wearing. The other type of vinyl is called calendered vinyl. And calendered vinyl is made very much like one of those pasta machines makes, sort of lasagna sheets. It's made by forcing a big lump of plastic through a roller and flattening it out that way. Now, that vinyl isn't quite as hard wearing as the cast vinyl. Also, by sort of pushing it through rollers, you get a certain kind of like unevenness as it goes through the roller. So it tends to be not used for anything where you need to wrap it around things. So if you're wrapping it on, say, a car bonnet or something like that, calendered vinyl is going to start lifting up on you. Where calendered vinyl is good is for indoor use. So sort of for indoor signage, calendered vinyl would be perfect because it's not going to get exposed to the air, and it's mostly just kind of flat. Then there's a couple of different types of vinyl itself. Obviously, we talked about the vinyl. Wrong side, wrong shoulder. The vinyl behind me here is sign vinyl. So this does exactly what it says on the tin. It's for making signs. So you can cut this out. It's got a sticky back, kind of sticky adhesive backing onto it that you can then stick down, onto doors, windows, metal plates to sort of make, signage. So it's one of the sort of most common used. The other type that we would use a lot in the Fab Lab is what we call heat transfer vinyl. So I'm just going to stand up here. Been hiding my t-shirt from you. This t-shirt I created using heat transfer vinyl. So I cut out the lettering and put it into a heat press and stuck it onto the t-shirt. So making t-shirts and bags and kind of clothing items is one of the sort of things we do a lot in the Fab Lab, and we run workshops on designing your own t-shirts or designing your own sort of tote bags and stuff like that. And it's probably one of the most fun workshops because it's a very kind of satisfying thing to have a design in your head and then see it appear in color on a t-shirt that you can wear. So we really love running the t-shirt making workshops or the tote bag making workshops. They've become very popular actually. So that leads me on to sort of heat presses. So heat presses, and again, I'll show you the heat press in a moment. Heat presses, you can see one in the picture here. If I just go to my desktop, heat presses are kind of big. They look like big kind of clamps, and you clamp down. In fact, that's exactly our one there. You clamp down the handle there. The top heats up, and essentially it's just like a big iron, a big press, and it presses down and it secures the heat transfer vinyl onto the t-shirts. So there are other types of vinyl for more kind of speciality uses. So obviously, if you've seen sort of the side of vans or the side of buses, you've seen them maybe wrapped in sort of like vinyl lettering. So that is a special type of vinyl that is specially designed for wrapping onto cars. And usually that type of vinyl has to be activated by some kind of either heat or some kind of a liquid kind of pressure. So usually that vinyl is produced on much larger machines because obviously if you're doing the side of a bus, you want to be able to cut out large sections that you can stick on. So usually they're done on much bigger machines than we would have in the Fab Lab. The other type of vinyl that you can get, not really vinyl. I'll just show you here. Flick to my desktop again, and the other type that you can do is cut out. This is copper foil with an adhesive backing, and what they're doing there is cutting out a printed circuit board design. So you design your printed circuit board in software, and then you can cut out all the kind of traces that you want to solder your components to, and then you would again just peel them off and put them down onto your material. Usually it's sort of like a piece of kind of maybe fiberglass board, a thin kind of fiberglass board, but of course it could be anything. You can also get this type of conductive foil as a heat transfer vinyl now as well, so that you can create sort of like wearable electronics by heat pressing it onto say a t-shirt and then kind of soldering maybe some LEDs and a battery, and you can have a light up T-shirt. So it's becoming more sort of adaptable. The other thing also is, it's not it's not just vinyl that you can cut. There are machines now that can cut paper and card and thin plastics, and there's even some kind of what we would call crafting cutters that will let you cut felt and leather. So if you had a little kind of craft project that you wanted to make, you can cut out your leather parts and sort of sew them together. So they're becoming a lot more versatile in the types of materials they can cut out. It's not just vinyl. The other thing also is, I'll go back to my full screen so you can see here. The other thing also is you can replace these blades in the vinyl cutter with a pen. So here's a little pen attachment that I can put into my. I've just got the insert from a ballpoint pen there, and that can slot into the vinyl cutter, and then that essentially turns the vinyl cutter into a big, large-scale plotter. So if you have technical drawings, sort of CAD drawings or architectural drawings that you need to sort of draw out, you can use the vinyl cutter to draw your kind of line drawings, your CAD drawings on big rolls of paper or sort of thin card. So if you're making an architectural drawing on an A1 size board, you could put that in and get that drawn out really nicely, really accurately. So again, very useful kind of to be able to do that. Okay, enough of me talking. Let me just roll a video here of vinyl cutting. So again, we were in the Hive over the summer recording some videos. So this is a video I made showing the vinyl cutter making a sign for the guys in the Hive. So
Hi, I'm Stuart from FabLab Maker Hub, and this is another in the Pop-Up FabLab series. Today we're going to be looking at the vinyl cutter, and we're going to be getting started with vinyl cutting. So I'm going to be going through a very simple project here, cutting out a logo on sign vinyl and mounting it on a window as a decal. Okay, so let's get started. I'm in the Hive today, and we're going to be using the Hive's logo to create a decal to stick on a window so it can shine through and be seen on the other side. So what I'm going to do is just import in the logo that I have saved to my desktop here. So we've got lots of different versions of the Hive logo. I'm just going to concentrate on the single one color logo down here. To do this, I need to ungroup all of these because all of these logos are all together in one group. So I'm going to ungroup them and then ungroup them again so that I actually get the Hive logo on its own. Now that's separated out all of the individual elements within the logo. So what I'm going to need to do is just join them all back together again. So I just draw a box around them and then right click and group them. So I now have the Hive logo there that I need. The rest I can just select all them and delete them. Now I have that logo there. What I want to do is just look at the outline of it. What I did there was just turn the fill off, but then go to the stroke and turn the stroke on. In fact, I might even set it to be 0.1 of a millimeter. Now this is an A4 sheet. So I'm going to scale this up to the width of an A4 page. Okay, so what we're going to do is save this onto the desktop in my vinyl cutting folder. And I'm going to go into my EasyCut Studio, which is the software that we use to control the vinyl cutter. So what I want to do is import in my Hive decal SVG file. Essentially, the bottom of the sheet here shows us where the cutting head of the vinyl cutter will be. Once I have it there, I can click on my cutter button and it brings up the cut settings. So the vinyl cutter is just connected via a simple USB cable. You can kind of think of the vinyl cutter similar to like an inkjet printer. We can test the connection to make sure that we've actually got communication, and it's come back okay. We also have kind of a preview, very similar to how you'd have a preview in your ordinary inkjet printer. At the moment, that's how the logo looks. I do actually want to mirror the logo so that when we stick it on the window, when we look through the window, it will actually look the right way around. So we want it to be back to front when we're cutting it out. So once I have that there, I can now go load up my vinyl into the vinyl cutter. So I have a sheet here of black vinyl. This is signed vinyl, so this has an adhesive backing on it. So when we cut it out, we can then stick it onto whatever surface. So I'm going to push this through here and line that up. Now I have 3 kind of roller guides here that need to hold the vinyl down. And I have some little guides here which show me where the toothed wheels underneath are to catch on to the rollers. So I'm just going to line those up there like that. The next thing I need to do is set where the head of the vinyl cutter is going to start cutting, and I can use these buttons to move the head of the vinyl cutter backwards and forwards, and then I can use these buttons to move the vinyl backwards and forwards. So I'm just going to line it up here a little bit away from the edge a little bit and tell it that I want it to be the current position. The only other thing I need to set is the speed at which the cutter moves the vinyl and the pressure on the surface. So at the moment the speed is set to 200 millimeters per second. I'm actually going to slow that down to 100 millimeters per second. And the pressure is 184 grams. I'm probably going to bring that down to about 160. So once that's set, all I have to do is hit the cut button on the vinyl cutting software and it sends over the file. Now I've deliberately kind of slowed this down so that you can see it working. Ordinarily we could probably speed this up, but just so that you can see how the actual vinyl cutter is working. So that's finished cutting now. What I can do is just unclip the rollers and take out the vinyl. And there we have our decal cut out. But there's another step we need to take, which is to turn this into a transfer so that we can then stick it onto our window. So for that, I'm going to need to get rid of the pieces that I don't need and leave behind the pieces I do need. So I'm just going to gather some tools. Very simple really. A pair of scissors, a bent hook, this is called a weeding tool, and some transfer tape. So what I'm going to do is just cut around that to leave behind our logo there, and I'm going to grab my weeding tool and I'm going to just very carefully try and take away the vinyl that we don't need around the shapes there. Just kind of peel it back. Now the lettering can be quite tricky when you're doing this, so a bit of patience is always good. You do end up with a lot of waste. Vinyl cutting is a subtractive process, very much like laser cutting. You're starting off with a raw material and cutting away what you don't need to leave behind what you do need. V there. And we're almost done. There we go. Now the only thing left to do is to take out the holes in the E's. Okay, so we have our logo. So what we need to do now is make this into a transfer so that we can then transfer it onto our window. So for this we use transfer tape. This is a special type of what they call application tape. It's not very sticky. It's kind of like the least sticky tape you'll kind of come across. And for a very good reason, because you don't want the vinyl to stick heavily onto this. So again, we'll just cut off a piece of the application tape like that, and we'll place this down over the vinyl logo here. And then I'm going to grab one more tool, which is my squeegee, and I'm going to just take the air bubbles out of that so there's no air bubbles left. Again, like I say, the tape is not very sticky, so I'm just making sure that the vinyl actually does stick to the application tape so that when we remove the backing we have our vinyl stuck to this. Okay, so we're kind of ready to go and put that on. The last thing to do then is to actually peel off the backing. With vinyl, it's always best to peel off the backing rather than peeling off the logo itself. Peel off the backing and you'll find that it actually comes away a lot easier than the other way around. There we have our logo ready to go on the window. Okay, so here's our window that we're going to stick our logo onto. It's kind of a frosted glass, so it should look quite nice with it kind of shining through from the other side. It's always good to make sure that the surface you're sticking it onto is free from grease so that it does stick. So we have some just isopropyl alcohol here. We just give this a bit of a spray onto the glass and just give that a bit of a clean. And it'll allow us also to kind of position the sticker and give it a little bit of a leeway. So that's quite good. Now we use our squeegee again to make sure that we get all of the air bubbles out. Now, peeling this off, we can see how well we've stuck it down. The angle at which you come at things does kind of make a difference. Again, lettering can be tricky with the corners of the lettering. Just try and... That's it. And there's our logo. So, we'll just go and have a look on the other side of the window and see how that looks. Okay, so there's our finished sticker. It gives a nice kind of effect through the frosted glass there. Almost looks like a kind of a mirror, engraved mirror kind of effect. So that's how you can create eye-catching graphics for your business using simple one-color vinyl.
There we go. That's making a sign for the hive. So you saw the whole kind of process from start to finish there. What I want to show you is some sort of other ideas that you can use for vinyl cutting. Obviously, sign making is one of the predominant areas that that vinyl cutting is used for, and as you can see from that video, it's very easy to make a sign for your business, or for your home, or for your outside your house or whatever, even your school. So here's some other, just to share my desktop again. Here's some other ideas. Creating decals, sort of stickers to go onto, your laptop or anything, in your house. This is an interesting one. It's a multi-layer decal. So they had the design and they split the design up into various parts so they could cut the vinyl out in different colors. So it looks quite sophisticated, but there's only three colors there. There's white, black, and the orange. The white was laid down first, and then the orange next, I think, and then the black put down on top. So the orange underneath, where the lettering is, could literally just be a block of orange that the black kind of sits over the top of. So again, it's really easy to kind of create, these kind of multi-layer kind of graphics, using something like Inkscape. And I'll show you Inkscape again in a second. The other thing, obviously, is for creating decals for your bedroom wall. There again, there's another kind of multicolored one there. Again, very simple, just three colors, just the white, the blue, and the green, just layered up there, just to give a really nice kind of effect. The other thing is, that we do in the Fab Lab quite a lot, is run workshops where we will make these kind of tea lights. And I'll show you an example of one in a minute. Essentially, this is just an ordinary, just little kind of LED light that you would get to maybe stick under your kitchen cabinet to give you a bit of light. The kind of with the sticky pads underneath, press button ones. What we do is cut some sort of frosted sort of what is it called? Polyethylene sheet. Fold it round to make the sort of like the lampshade, and then stick the vinyl on the inside, so that when you turn the light on, it gives a lovely kind of like glow from the inside. Now here's someone who took that to a kind of a big extreme and made a fantastic looking light. This is using acrylic. She made a box out of acrylic, and again stuck the vinyl on the inside, and you can see that it gives a fantastic kind of look. So this, is just like a table lamp, or a lamp for your sort of bedside table, and it gives a fantastic effect, when the light shines out from the inside through the vinyl. So there's that idea. I'll switch back to my desktop here. The other idea is, I'll just show you here. So this is something here's one I made earlier in true Blue Peter fashion. So basically, I cut out the lettering and the design here out of just ordinary black sign vinyl, stuck it onto, it's essentially a piece of plywood, and then I got some stencil paint and painted the stencil paint. So that's been drying now for a few minutes, and if I peel this off, try and do a live reveal. If we peel the vinyl away, we should be able to get a nice little stenciled design. As you see, it's coming through there. Just got to start peeling these things away there, a bit at a time. Make sure we get all the last little bits. It's coming along there. Looking quite nice. We can get the rest of the lettering away. Last little bit up here, a little bit there. There we go. Oh, bit of black up there. Get rid of that. There you go. Happy Christmas. So again, that was really simple and easy. Literally, I did that 5 minutes before we went on air today, to create a nice kind of Christmas board. We could the idea is to put it down, and you could have a candle on there, and it's a nice kind of like, something for your Christmas table. Even get the kids to paint in the baubles there for you. So again, very easy to create stencils with the vinyl cutter, and create things like that. Another technique that I only kind of found out about this week using stencils is using the same technique, but instead of using paint, if you mix up a solution of ammonium chloride, apparently you can get this from the chemist, and it's not deadly. Just don't drink it. Mix up a solution of ammonium chloride, paint that on instead of the stencil paint. Let that dry. Take the vinyl off, and then get a heat gun. And if you heat it up, this only works on wood, by the way. Then heat it up. It actually creates a kind of a burnt wood effect. The heat with the ammonia kind of burns into the wood, and you can create that kind of like pyrography kind of effect with it. I see in the comments there, Leah was saying about using the pen there for creating kind of fine art drawings. Absolutely, yeah, that's definitely a great idea. Sort of like if you have like etched line drawings, you could scan that in with an ordinary scanner, and then sort of get it to draw out the very intricate fine art kind of drawings, almost shading in stuff as well. That's definitely something you can do. Let me just quickly look at the comments. See there? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, hi Alex. Yeah, that's a big shout out to Alex. Alex is joining us from France, I think. Alex tours around Europe visiting all the maker spaces, and he came over to see us in Sligo there a couple of years ago. So hi Alex. What other things could we do with the vinyl cutter? If I just flick back to my desktop here for you one more time. Desktop. Obviously, t-shirts. Here's one from the local football team, Sligo Rovers. Some t-shirts we did there from Sligo fans. Here's another t-shirt. There's my son and his cousin making team shirts for themselves. And that's a lot. I think that's a lovely design there. That was using a special software where you can put in a shape, and then it creates all that kind of bubbly kind of look on the inside of any shape for you. So the girl on one of our camps there, I think it was an Easter camp that we did, created a nice design there using the thing. So what I'm going to do is just quickly flick over to the to Inkscape and show you. Here's a design that I want to put onto a t-shirt for my son. It's some logo from a famous YouTuber, apparently. Write in the comments if you know. So what I want to do is get this cut out on the vinyl cutter and stick it onto a t-shirt. So I've brought the logo into Inkscape. I've converted it from a JPEG file into an SVG file. You can see here SVG is a vector graphics file. Remember earlier I was talking about you have to have vector files for the vinyl cutter to work. Now the software that we use to control the vinyl cutter, again you saw it in the video there, is a software called EasyCut Studio. So I've brought the design into EasyCut Studio, and I can send this over to the vinyl cutter. Again, I just want to test my connection, make sure everything's working okay. Yep, that's fine. So I'm going to mirror this so that when I print it out onto the t-shirt, it will print out in reverse, and I can put it on the right way around. Whenever you're doing lettering or a logo on heat transfer vinyl, because you're essentially going to be reversing it by placing it down onto the t-shirt, you always have to remember to mirror everything. So if you've got lettering, it always has to be mirror writing for it to sort of come out the right way around, like my t-shirt here. Okay, so I'm going to send that over to cut, and if we switch cameras over to full screen on the other side, we should see it starting to cut out. So here we go. Now, let's move around to the other side. So at the moment, it's transferring the data across to the vinyl cutter here. So this is our vinyl cutter. This is made by a company called Layu. It's a Chinese brand of laser cutter, but they're actually quite well known. They sell all over the world. This vinyl cutter can work with a number of different types of software, and there's a few different sort of controlling applications that you can use with this vinyl cutter. Easy Cut Studio is one of them. There's another vinyl cutting software called Flexi, and there's another one called Sure Cuts a Lot. You can imagine that that's an American brand with a name like that. Just while that's cutting, I'll just show you some things. Here's a sign that we made up for the lab, that the office that we used to have up in Manor Hamilton here. So again, this is just lettering cut out and just stuck onto a piece of kind of frosted acrylic. And again, we just laser cut the acrylic to the right shape and stuck the lettering on. Again, you can use obviously lots of different colors to make up your design. This is a t-shirt again for heat transfer vinyl. In the same way that the decal was on the laptop was done with different layers. I did different layers here. I did the yellow and then the brown for the outline of the Pikachu there. So again, you can kind of layer up vinyl. So that's finished cutting now. So I'm going to take this out, and I can just see the design here. I'm going to grab my scissors, wherever my scissors are, over here, and cut out the shape and then weed it out. So the process that you have to go through with vinyl, with cutting vinyl, is what's called weeding. So that's what's known as sort of leaving behind what you do want and cutting away what you don't want. So I'm going to cut that out of there like that. Put my vinyl down on the floor. Let me just see here. Where's my... It's sometimes a bit hard to see. I'll cut around that, there, like that. Okay, so what I'm going to grab is my weeding tool. So this essentially is just like a bent pin. Again, you saw it in the video there. And what I'm going to do is try and weed away the vinyl that I don't want and leave the symbol behind. Heat transfer vinyl is a bit different to the sign vinyl. It's not sticky. The plastic that it's kind of stuck to is sticky, but the actual vinyl itself isn't sticky. Let's pull this away here. Heat transfer vinyl usually comes away a lot easier than sign vinyl because it is kind of stuck down a lot better onto the sort of the medium in which it exists. There we go. So now I have my design, my fire design, all ready to go. So I have my heat press here. So this is the heat press. By the way, this is the vinyl cut lamps that I was showing you earlier in the picture. We have the little LED light there, and it just sits over the top like that, and then it shines through. So what I'm going to do is grab a t-shirt. I think I have one on the floor here. So the heat press, like I was saying, the heat press just heats up to about 160 degrees. So essentially it's like an iron, a big iron. I'm going to grab the t-shirt and I'm going to put the t-shirt here. I might disappear from view for a second. There we go. So put that there, and I'm going to just press the t-shirt, just give it a bit of a press to smooth out the wrinkles on it, like that. There we go. Now I'm going to grab the decal that I've cut out and position that on the t-shirt. I think it's meant to kind of go like that. There we go. And I can kind of press that down so it starts heating up. Now, heat transfer vinyl doesn't take long. Literally, if I press that down there, I just need to hold that in there for about 10-15 seconds. So we can do a count, of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so that should be enough for that to transfer the vinyl onto the t-shirt. Now, heat transfer vinyl comes in a couple of different types. There's what's called hot peel and cold peel. And again, it kind of does exactly what it says. Hot peel, you peel the vinyl while the t-shirt's hot. And cold peel, you have to wait for the vinyl to cool down before you can peel it off. I think this vinyl is hot peel because I'm able to peel it off while it's still hot. So there we go. I peel off the vinyl and we have the t-shirt all done on there. So there was a couple of questions came in just before we started recording. People were asking me about whether you can actually sort of print onto vinyl. And the answer is yes, you can. Those types of machines are quite expensive, but Roland have released some new machines, and there's what's called digital media. So the vinyl, if I show you here, so like for instance, this is sign vinyl, just black sign vinyl. You can get what's called digital media, so it's vinyl that you're able to actually print onto, and Roland make a series of printers that let you print full color graphics onto the vinyl, and then you can cut them out. So imagine you had, say, I don't know, the shape of a Christmas tree, and you printed a Christmas tree onto here, and you wanted to just cut the outline of the Christmas tree, so you had just the Christmas tree as a full color printed thing that you wanted to stick on the wall. The Roland machines would be able to print onto the vinyl and then cut exactly around the shape to give you exactly what you need to stick onto the wall. Now, those machines are called, printer cutters, and they're quite expensive. The amazing thing about them is that you can have clear vinyl. So the vinyl essentially is just like clear tape like this. Essentially, you can just see through it, and you can print with white onto it. So as well as just having your usual kind of like cyan, magenta, yellow and black, you actually have white as one of the inks, and you can print white, so you get that very kind of crisp, clear color when you print onto the clear vinyl, and then you're then able to cut out the shapes. So for something like the Pikachu like that, you'd be able to print in the colors and cut out exactly the right shape for it. Again, these are the tote bags that we were talking about. So people are asking me, well, what type of material you can actually use the heat transfer on. Basically, you can heat transfer onto. I'll just turn the machine off here because it does make a bit of a clicking noise. You can transfer onto any kind of like natural material. So cotton's the best, really, for doing heat transfer vinyl. The vinyl kind of sticks into the material a lot better. So these are sort of eco cotton, what they call eco cotton. So it's ethically produced, and these bags you can buy via MDP, and they work really well for the vinyl, the heat transfer vinyl. Also, the other thing that people were asking me was, how do you wash these, and does the vinyl come off? And the answer is, eventually it does. But there are certain things that you can do to preserve the kind of the life of your vinyl printed t-shirts, and that is by washing them inside out and washing them at 30 degrees. Obviously, the more heat they get, the more they kind of start to sort of fray at the edges. But the other thing you can actually do with your heat, with your vinyl cut t-shirts, is give them another press after a while. If you get an iron and you put another piece of cloth over the vinyl and just give it a very gentle kind of like press with an iron, that'll actually fix it down again. So after you wash it, you can fix it down, and again, that'll preserve the life of the vinyl t-shirt as well. So you should get quite a lot of wear out of them before you notice the vinyl starting to sort of maybe sort of fade or peel. So I hope that gives you a good overview on vinyl cutting. I'll just sit back now and again and say goodbye to everybody. There we go. Okay, just check the questions one more time and see if everything's coming in. Yes, sir, absolutely. Someone said there about stencils for sandblasting as well. Yeah, I should mention this. Of course, if anybody's been listening to our podcast series, I interviewed Louise Carroll. Louise Carroll is a local designer of giftware, and Louise uses a vinyl cutter to cut out stencils, which she then sandblasts. She sticks the stencils onto slate and she sandblasts the slate, and it gives a fantastic look. So again, you can use the vinyl cutter to make stencils for sandblasting. Bear in mind, though, that you do need to use a special type of vinyl for that. There is special sandblasting vinyl that's a lot harder wearing, because obviously, as you're blasting sand onto something, that's going to wear away the material quite quickly. So you need a very thick things. So also the other thing, yes, that's well spotted there, is if you are cutting out t-shirts with copyrighted designs, be careful, you can't sell those online, but for personal use, it's probably fine for personal use, but do be careful. If you modify it in some way, just be careful what you're doing there. So listen, thanks everybody for joining in. Just a couple of things there I want to mention is, if you enjoyed the video that I showed you there, we have a whole load of pop-up Fab Lab videos up on our YouTube channel. So check that out, Fab Lab MH. And then also the podcast series I was talking about. There's 7 episodes up there, and we're just getting ready to do the second season of that, and some really interesting people coming up, 3D printing jewelry and things like that. So have a look at the podcast series. It's on anchor.fm, and you can find it on all of the usual podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Google, etc. So next week, it's going to be myself and Leo Scarf, and we're going to be getting into product prototyping, and I'm going to be basically talking to Leo about how to use some of the Fab Lab machines and how he uses some of the Fab Lab machines to prototype products that he would then go on to make. So how you can get your prototypes made using the Fab Lab machines. So that'll be myself and Leo next week. Same time, same place, Facebook, Tuesday, 11 o'clock. So thanks for watching today, and have a good day. Cheers, bye.